transformative professional growth opportunity for me, one that I'm really appreciative that my company was so supportive of something like this. The program enhances leadership skills. It really builds on that through hands-on experiences, industry insights, but it also offers you an opportunity to just some of the most influential leaders and, being able to be in the same room with them and pick their brain and being inspired by the things that they have to say is really impactful. So it's definitely expanded my professional network, and it's just something that's immeasurable.
Trucking is difficult. It's an essential industry that every corner of the nation depends on, even without knowing it. To the average consumer, the supply chain is magic, and sometimes a black hole. Products on store shelves, dinner on restaurant tables, packages on doorsteps. It's expected to be there on time, every time, and only recognized if there's a service failure. But how is a sausage made? Who's talking about the issues that matter to trucking companies?
Welcome to TrueNorth Truck Thought, or the Triple T Pod for short, a monthly podcast hosted by Scopelitis Transportation Consulting and brought to you by TrueNorth Companies. We're here to demystify the magic, address the black holes, and to talk trucking to the industry we love. Whether it's the latest research, upcoming laws and rules, safety issues and solutions, or practical discussions about real-life supply chain challenges, the Triple T Pod is here to help the most important industry in our country to navigate its greatest challenges and opportunities. We bring together some of the best and brightest experts to talk about and tackle some of the most pressing industry issues. So without further ado, I'm Steve Kepler.
And I'm Sean Garney. Let's get trucking. As we know, the trucking industry is absolutely vital to the country. To borrow from ATA's image campaigns over time, whether you're moving America forward or bringing good stuff, the country is nothing without trucking. Just as trucking moves America forward, it's the talent and ingenuity of its workers that moves it forward. Instilling pride and passion in these folks builds loyalty and creates tomorrow's leaders. That's where the American Trucking Association's LEAD ATA program comes in. Created in 2014, LEAD ATA's purpose, as stated on their website, is to select, prepare, and transform the best and brightest in the trucking industry today to be our leaders of tomorrow. I was fortunate to work at ATA when the program was established in 2013 and was appointed as the policy shop's representative at the time, granting me intimate access to some of the early decision-making around the program. From a personal perspective, some of the friends I met that first year are still some of my closest in the industry. That's why I'm especially excited about today's conversation. Joining us today are three recent graduates from the class of 2024 LEAD ATA. Chris Eckhart, partner of at Scopelitis, Garvin, Light, Hanson, and Feary. Manny Hoyt, manager of sales marketing at TrueNorth Companies. And Dana Spencer, safety and compliance director at CRST, the transportation solution. Welcome all to the pod. We appreciate y'all being here with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Well, and Sean, to your point, we have best and brightest here with us today, so we appreciate you all taking some time. I think we're really excited to hear from you all today. One of the challenges Sean and I talk often about is the brain drain in our industry. There's so many folks that have been around for a while and are starting to retire, and gray hair, such as myself, been around for a little bit. And kind of we have a responsibility, at least in my mind, to try and support those younger folks coming up through the ranks, because they're the future of our industry. And part of doing that is really being active and being out front and being involved. And that's why we're really excited about the program today and hearing from you all. And hopefully the message you'll convey today will help others that are going to be listening to this really stand up, because freight doesn't vote, right? And so and our industry is very highly regulated, as we know, and it really takes a village to really make an impact. And so that you really want to hopefully hear from you all today about your message to those that may be considering getting involved in this program or other leadership programs, either in their own companies or other organizations, and some lessons you've learned along the way. And so maybe to start out, if I might, and maybe we'll start with you, Chris, and then Manny and Dana. Tell us a little bit about yourselves, your experience, why you got involved in the trucking industry, and what you enjoy most about it.
Sure. Thanks, Steve. And fortunately, having gray hair wasn't prohibitive of me being considered a future leader. So I'll say that out of the gate. But I am a partner at the Scopelitis law firm. We're a full service transportation law firm. I kind of stumbled into that position. I applied for a job out of law school and spent a summer with the firm and really loved it. Loved the industry. Still love the industry. I think it's an industry where I still learn something new every day and love working with all of our transportation clients on the issues that they face. So that's what I enjoy most about it, is learning new things about the industry and working with our clients to solve their problems.
Sounds great. I can go. Manny Hoyt. I work at TrueNorth, lead our marketing and communication efforts for our transportation division. So similar to Chris, I kind of stumbled into the transportation industry about 4 years ago. I was moving to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and had a great opportunity to work at a motor carrier. So transitioning to this role now, I actually have the unique kind of perspective to work across the breadth of the industry, from motor carriers with the size of one all the way to enterprise, and now professional drivers as well. So it really gives me a comprehensive view of kind of the industry as a whole now, which I really appreciate. Probably my favorite thing about working within the industry is the dynamic environment. No day is the same here for sure. But really it's the opportunity to contribute to such an essential sector of the supply chain and being a part of that change.
What about you, Dana?
All right. Well, my family was involved in transportation growing up. My grandfather was vice president of operations. So transportation's always been a part of the family. I actually did not think I was going to be in transportation myself. That wasn't my career plan, but here I am. I have been in the industry for about approximately 14 years. And been with CRST for 11. And being a part of this industry is amazing. I mean, the possibilities are endless in the transportation community. And really, I mean, just to be a part of this industry and the backbone of our economy is fantastic. It's extremely rewarding.
That's really awesome. I often make the comment, Steve's about to roll his eyes for our listeners.
Yes.
I often
I know
make
exactly
the
what you're
comment
saying.
that there are just two ways into the trucking industry, and it seems like maybe Chris and Manny have taken door one, which is, whoops, I fell right into it, and Dana was sort of bored into the tradition, and I think that's wonderful. The other thing that I love about those stories, Manny, you especially, and Dana have been around to a couple different spots. In once you're in trucking, it seems like all roads lead back to trucking, right? So, personally, I've been a broker, I've worked at a motor carrier, I've worked as an advocate, now as a consultant, and then, so you might start at a motor carrier, you might end up somewhere else, but there's a draw that just always brings us back. And I don't know if this is true for you, but one of the things that really kept me going in trucking was I had a professional mentor, somebody who had that passion, who I could rely on for important guidance, who would point me to doors that they felt might be worth opening. And so I offer that to you all as a question. Have you had a mentor? Has that been an important part of your process? And I'm gonna go with Dana first because I could see her nodding. It looks like she might have a story.
I do. Actually, it's quite interesting. My mentor, who I value his input, his guidance, is currently my leader, as my boss. Which nice. One thing about him is he's analytical. He's always available, and most importantly, he's an active listener. And he has taught me empathy and ways to work with others. The day that he's not my boss will be a very sad day because he's shown me so much more of who I am and how I can actually contribute and be a great leader in this industry.
That's great. And I know your boss. I think he's great. Sure. Anybody else?
Sure, I can go. I think having mentors in this industry is extremely important for professional growth. Obviously, the complexity of this industry, I think you can all hands on deck to really understand it. And I'm fortunate enough where, at TrueNorth, I have the ability to work with some of the most influential leaders within the industry, subject matter expertise. So I have quite a few mentors here that I really appreciate and value their opinions. My direct leader, as well as all the practice leaders at TrueNorth, really helped me and guide me throughout this whole journey, and really kind of put me up for this program as well. And it really instilled a confidence in me. But I think what's really important about this industry and important to call out is mentorship within your organization is extremely important. But it's also, I've had a lot of mentors outside of my direct organization that are also in the industry. And I think, it's such a close knit industry that nobody really recognizes how close it is. So I would encourage everybody to, yes, organizational mentors are crucial to your professional development and your subject matter expertise, but even expand that and really diversify your perspective with others in the industry, because this industry, everybody's willing to help.
Agree with that.
Yeah, for sure.
And from my perspective, certainly I've had mentors in my life and in my career that have been invaluable. Here at the firm, one of the things that I do, I'm on the firm's management committee, and so I help support the firm's managing partner and president, Greg Feary, and he's been a tremendous mentor to me personally on just teaching how to be a leader in a firm, how to be a leader when it comes to client service, and setting the standard of excellence that is remarkable and hard to follow, but it's certainly a good goal for any up-and-coming lawyer at the Scopelitis law firm. So I would certainly include Greg in that list. And then right out of law school, I clerked for a federal judge in Indianapolis, and he's no longer with us, unfortunately, but he was certainly a source for me on how to be a good father, a good attorney, a good friend, all those sorts of things that are really important for obvious reasons.
That's great. Of all three of you, good feedback there. I think, Manny, to your point about having people outside your organization, I've found that to be very helpful to me as well. And even people that have differing viewpoints as yourself, right? So, having productive and useful conversations to try and we're continually learning, right? We need to continually learn to better ourselves and better the organizations we work for. And I think, Chris, your point, I think about being a good worker, I think, in my view, is also about being a good person. And so, and being able to, and to your point, Dane, about empathy, I think caring about the people you work with and work for, I think is that's great. That's great to hear. And so maybe tacking to the next thought question here. Maybe Manny, we'll start with you on this one. So if, you stumbled in the industry. Now you're
stuck.
Now you're
Sorry.
stuck. But
you don't get out of it once you're in.
That's right. No, you're right. It is.
No hall passes.
Yes. Just a word of advice from you all about someone that's either contemplating getting involved in trucking or just recently got involved in, and it's this huge thing, right? It's so complicated. That's why mentors are so important, right? It's so hard to kind of get up to speed. What advice would you give to people that are fresh and young and are newly into the industry?
Yeah. Really, my advice I would get if you want to get involved into a program such as this one for lead ATA or anything really at all is just embrace every opportunity that you have to offer. Fully engage with the peers in the industry, your mentors that we just kind of discussed with and, outside of your organization. But all the experiences provided as well. I think, always be curious to learn, always ask questions. Everybody wants to help. And I think if you have the understanding of a win for you is a win for the industry, which is a win for everyone else, asking those questions, everybody's willing to help. And I think that's what makes our industry really unique.
Anybody else got some good advice? Go ahead, Chris.
Sure. Yeah, I'll jump in. Thanks. I echo what Manny just said. Certainly asking a lot of questions is critical. You got to learn the industry. There's a lot to learn in the industry. And so asking questions is important. I would say take it one day at a time. That's not a mountain you're going to climb quickly. It takes time, but over the course of several years, you will learn that you are part of the industry, you know the industry, and it can be very valuable as a team member in the industry. Networking is important because of those relationships that you guys have developed for years. People in the industry help each other, and you never know when you're going to need to pick up the phone call and ask for a favor. And when people pick up the phone and call you for a favor, make sure you do that.
That is
and then,
true.
of course, work hard. I mean, that's that seems so simple, and it is, but it is so very important because the people in this industry certainly know about hard work, and that'll be expected. So those are my comments.
To Chris, when you say work hard, when I sit down at my desk every day, I think about the men and women driving those trucks and how hard they have to work every day. And if I can't try to match that, then I probably don't belong. So I really resonate with that response. Thoughts, Dana? Any advice for the up and comers?
I would just say, I mentioned it earlier, but really in this industry, the possibilities are endless. I mean, you can take your career so many different ways in this industry. And really, I would encourage anyone to seek out what they like. If it's operations, if it's safety, if it's finance, it's IT, all of that is encompassed in the transportation industry. So really, truly take advantage of it.
Great. Well, here comes the portion of our program where, for the listeners, the sausage is made typically by sending, a group of questions that people can think about. But then I get to come up with a few questions that might not be on the list. So here's the first one, sort of a trivia question. What does LEAD in LEAD ATA stand for? Right? It's always in caps. It's an acronym. Is it Leader, Education, and Development? Let enterprising adults decide, leveraging education, advancement, and dedication, or lucky elephants anticipate decline?
Definitely.
Can it be more than one?
It could be. Yeah, it could be for sure. So I was part of the LEAD 8. I don't think it's an acronym. I don't think it's an acronym.
I haven't heard that.
I've been thinking about this for like a week. And when we were kind of trying to create the program, it was LEAD ATA, but now every time I see it in print, it's capital LEAD. So I'm like, it must be an acronym for something, but I have searched around. So this could be our opportunity.
Well, the real question is, which one of those did you pitch back in 2014? We know you pitched one of those. I think it's the elephant one.
The elephant for sure.
It might be.
That wasn't a trivia question. That was a trick question.
Yeah, that's true. Trick. Yeah. Fair enough.
See what I have to deal with every day, guys?
I got more of these, by the way, so you just buckle up. This is going to be good.
I looked at both of Dana and Chris's face to be like, do you guys know the answer? And everybody was like, I can probably guess.
Yeah.
I was ready to Google it on my phone. Like, what is this? How do I not know this?
It has to be somewhere.
Yeah. Dana, I think you should Google it and just let us know, because I've Googled it. Maybe Bing it. Maybe it's old enough you can Bing it or something.
Maybe AI can create something.
Right.
Opportunities are endless here. Yeah. All right. So, Manny, you are the second TrueNorther as a lead ATA. Dana, you're number 4, I believe. And Chris, you are numero uno.
Correct. Yep.
Correcto, I think, for our Spanish speaking audience. So why did you guys get involved? Obviously CRST is believes the program is super important, but Chris, what led you to the program too? And Manny, what led you there? What do you see as the biggest benefits of the program? Why did you want to get involved?
Yeah, I can kick us off. So second one from TrueNorth specifically, but when you kind of go back to that mentorship piece, so one of my mentors here, he did it 2 years ago. And, we've talked continuously about the impacts that he's seen from the program, the value that he's seen, the networking that he's seen. He's introduced me to so many of his peers within the industry, which has helped my network grow even before I joined this program. And, he really was kind of my champion to be like, I think you'd be great at this. Let me pass the torch to you. And when you have somebody that is that invested in your professional development, your growth, within the industry, TrueNorth supports the industry, wholeheartedly, and things like this just better provide solutions to our clients, because you have to understand the industry to really provide a solution. And there's no shortage of that happening at TrueNorth. So I think it's really impactful when you have somebody that's gone through this, that is so influential in the industry, really trust you to pass the torch to you. it gives you this sense of confidence that you're like, I can do this, I can be an advocate, and I want to really continue on the great work. So I think that is super important for young leaders to have.
Absolutely. I think it's an honor to be a part of Lead ATA. It's an honor that CRST has chosen me to be a part of this program. And you are not only just networking, with motor carriers, but attorneys, insurance carriers, engineers. I mean, people I never thought that I'd imagine would meet in this industry, and just building those true friendships. I mean, it's been a wonderful journey so far.
Completely agree. From my my experience was obviously the firm has had a relationship with the American Trucking Associations for a long time, and one of our partners, Prasad Sharma, used to be the general counsel of ATA, and so he was aware of the program and kind of mentioned it to Greg Feary, and fortunately Greg suggested that I apply, and Prasad wrote a very nice recommendation letter for me. So I'm completely thankful for both of them recommending me to the program. And I agree with Manny and Dana's comments. It's been an incredible experience. It is an honor to be involved. We learn a ton about what ATA does for its members, what the pressing issues are for the industry, for different segments of the industry. And most importantly, you just get to meet great people and spend a lot of time with them, not only learning, but also just getting to know them on a personal level, going out to dinner, talking to each other about our families and our kids and our jobs and all those sorts of things that really provide the true meaning underlying the program.
Well, that's some great thoughts there, Chris. I think you're right. And I think that's what draws a lot of us to it's very family focused, whether directly Dana's in, but even that whole relationship building is really key. And maybe Chris, you kind of started down this path, maybe. So, talk a little bit about kind of what the components of the program are, and all three, any of you, and which ones you really thought were most beneficial, you liked, any thoughts there on the program itself?
Sure. So the program kicks off at the MCNE in the fall. And so that was our first meeting as a group. And we had a funny running joke that day. We had a count for how many awkward silences there were. And we got to double digits.
Oh, nice.
I was going to say, what was the tally again?
Yeah. And so that's of course natural, but we quickly get rid of that awkwardness, and from the get-go got to know each other really well. So that the ATA lead program from the get-go and the MCNE meeting kind of gave us an overview of not only what the program would entail moving forward, but also an overview of what the ATA does for its members. So that was the first key meeting, and then we spent a few days at the ATA in January learning a lot more detail about the ATA, a lot more detail about the issues the industry is facing. We attended the mid-year, that was the third official meeting, and then we did our call on Washington a couple of weeks ago now in mid-June, and that was a tremendous experience, something that I think none of the three of us had done before.
It was my second time.
Your second time? Oh, that's right. You did it with the Women in Motion.
Yeah.
That's great. So those were the required meetings, I guess, Steve.
I think piggybacking off of that is, to Dana and Chris's points, that these are like lifelong friendships that you're really forging within this program. So, he was bringing up mid-year. It was actually a milestone birthday for me. And everyone's like, oh, that's awful. You have to work on your birthday. And I was like, yeah, but I'm with all my friends. Like, we have gone so close together, and we do things, and we know each other's lives, and we talk so much outside of just the 4 meetings that we have a year. I mean, we probably talk at least once a week within our group texts and various things, and our projects really made us kind of ramp up our communication efforts with each other. But it's an opportunity to really make meaningful and lasting relationships within the industry. And, to Chris's point, the call in Washington, it's basically gearing you up to, you're learning all about the industry. ATA is equipping you with every knowledge that you need to be successful. So when you go to call in Washington and you're dealing with policymakers in Congress, you can actually speak and do advocacy efforts on behalf of the industry. So, and it's things that it doesn't end at the call in Washington. It's something that you bring back to your organization and continue passing along the good message. And it's really fruitful when you see your efforts actually making meaningful change. So we talked about it. It was my actual second time call in Washington. I did the first one. I'm on the board of Women in Motion. And they were probably a month to 2 months apart from the first time I did it. And I actually went into multiple meeting rooms and he was like, I recognize you, Women in Motion. And even brought up like really impactful stories that we talked about the last time we did on call in Washington. So it really just kind of solidifies like the work that you're doing matters and it's actually showing up. They know what's going on. They're listening to you. So it's the importance of continuing that advocacy past this program. It really just solidified that.
Yeah, so one thing, Chris, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this. So when we first met, that first meeting, Manny and I had an ongoing list to guess everyone's ages. So we have it on the back of a receipt, sitting there having lunch. We were trying to get to know everybody, but we were also guessing their ages. And I will tell you, we were completely off on a lot of people's ages, but we will reveal that receipt when we graduate in October.
I love that.
So the call in Washington was great, but I will tell you the group project to me was extremely rewarding. You were forced to think differently and more outside of just your comfort zone, and work with peers in the industry and other professionals in the industry. And it's this group project, then you have to present it, which it was a little nerve wracking just to present it because there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that go into this project. But really being forced to pull yourself out of that day-to-day activity of your career and think of something else and how you could, this group project and how you can influence the industry by what you and your peers come up with. So, and everybody in our group, it was compelling with the projects that they came up with and the topics. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a really great tee up, Dana.
I was in her group.
Oh, well, the group project was not an original element of the program, right? It wasn't anything envisioned. Initially, it was like sort of meeting one, orientation to ATA, what ATA does. Meeting two, like how is the sausage made, on the Hill and in the regulatory agencies. The call in Washington, and then the media training. And which I've heard really great things about. But I love this project idea, and I know I've talked to Chris a little bit about what his project was, but maybe somebody, I could tee it up. If you choose a big dot deal industry issue and try to come up with some solutions for it, right? So what were your big dot deals, and how are you going to save trucking? Not that we need saving.
Yes. So no shocker, Manny and I are on the same team, and we are.
You have the receipts to prove it, I'm sure.
We
photograph evidence.
We came up with a program called Truck Well. So really just advocating and developing a platform for drivers to go to for resources to stay healthy while they're on the roadway. So, Manny, I'll let you. I don't want to take the limelight here. You can chime in as well.
Yeah. So how are we going to stay well?
Yeah. So Truckwell kind of was designed for drivers in mind, really kind of taking a deep dive into our health and well-being and mental health and all of that from our workforce perspective, but also equipping motor carriers with assets they need to trickle down the message, which is extremely important in this industry as well. So it's something that we are really passionate about. And if you think about it, because to Dana and Chris's point, diverse group. We have walks of life, different everything within this group for Lead ATA, which makes it really interesting and really fun to kind of collaborate on projects like this, because you have Dana, who expert in safety and all of this, and then I'm more of an expert in comms and how we actually deploy a type of message like this. So like really bringing the collaboration when you have one goal, and that's really to better and enhance the well-being of our workforce, which is the backbone. So it was really interesting to see everybody kind of work together and have different skill sets that they added to the project, and then have it all come to life on presentation day.
Wait, but what's the solution?
Yes. So what we were asking for is to have a platform, on ATA's website, or even create a month of, driver health and wellness. So they have like mental health and wellness in May. We have international road check. We have all these different distracted driving, all these different things, but we really don't have anything that's just concentrating on driver health and wellness, and just what are we doing to help them? So if they're pre-diabetic, diabetic, hypertension, where do they go to get these resources? How do we influence them to make healthier and better choices? So there is somewhat of a platform on ATA website. It's a portal that drivers could go to, even motor carriers. It's very boring. I even said that in my presentation. No one would ever feel compelled to go there because you're not really learning anything, or would not influence a driver or motor carrier to be a part of that. So really a way to be advocates for driver health and use ATA to streamline it.
Nice.
So that, I think that's the project, I think is great. I think, Dana, you mentioned, the fact that you're doing different things, getting involved. And then to me, that's a big part of professional growth and development, right? We all have our jobs and do things day to day, but to grow, we need to get outside of our comfort zone and be willing to take risks, and it's okay to do that, right? And so I think all too often people are risk averse to doing those types of things, and so maybe talk a little, all three of you guys.
Wait, what was Chris's project?
Oh, we did a project on the student driver apprenticeship program, and we obviously there hasn't been a lot of participation in that, either from a carrier or a driver basis. And so our concept was kind of two things. One was to target school counselors in high schools to sell them on the industry, and we created a packet to give them that would sell them on the opportunity, because they're the ones that can have such a tremendous impact on young people's life choices. And so that was idea number one. Idea number two was to create an interactive map that could be used both by the school counselors and the potential drivers and motor carriers, that would put those two groups of people together. For the school counselors, identify the truck driving schools in the area that were close to the motor carriers, who were approved motor carriers in that program. And then for motor carriers, identifying the truck driving schools and candidates around them where they needed them.
Nice. Sorry to cut you off, Steve.
No, I apologize, Chris. I moved on past, but I think you're on point. I think that from that perspective, those people are very influential on those young people's lives, right? They have and as you as a child in that age, you don't even know it until you get older, right? So I think that's a really important approach and strategy in terms of trying to get those young folks more active and engaged. So what I was moving towards was this notion of being uncomfortable, and also, so how has the LEAD program, from your guys' experience, contributed to your professional development? Any takeaways that you think you've learned that really will help you in your career going forward?
From my perspective, it certainly has been. Oh, go ahead, Manny.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think there's a little lag, so I didn't know if you were starting. Just for me personally, I think it's been a very transformative professional growth opportunity for me, one that I'm really appreciative that my company was so supportive of something like this. The program enhances leadership skills. It really builds on that through hands-on experiences, industry insights, but it also offers you an opportunity to just some of the most influential leaders, and being able to be in the same room with them and pick their brain and being inspired by the things that they have to say is really impactful. So it's definitely expanded my professional network, and it's just something that's immeasurable.
Yeah, for me, it was a really good opportunity to learn, no problem, to learn more about issues facing the industry. My primary practice is DOT safety compliance, and so certainly ATA is involved in that, of course, but there's a lot more that they're involved with. And so that was helpful for me to not only be exposed to that, but also to see carriers' reactions to the issues as well. because they're the ones on the ground having to deal with them in the industry. So that was a really good benefit of the program to me. And then networking, of course, was also a big part of it.
Networking, so important, unbelievably important. The people, I think Manny said it earlier, if your phone rings and it's one of your colleagues, answer it, because one day you're going to dial them up. And I think this Lead ATA program is a great way to sort of kickstart that. There have been many leaders. Is that what we call you guys? Leaders? I think so. Okay. Leaders that have come. Yeah, that have come before you. Can anybody guess how many leaders have graduated from the program so far? There is an answer to this one. Don't worry, it's not your question.
150.
I was at 120.
Chris, that was an amazing guess. 152. So nice work.
Good job.
Get the gold star.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we're lucky class number 11, and so my math skills are not great, but I could multiply 10 by 15 because there were 15 in our group. So that was my best guess.
Oh man, I leave all the math in our organization to Steve, because I would have messed that up too. I used to hear a lot that the most valuable part of the program to people was the media training, because a lot of folks, especially earlier in the careers, just haven't had the opportunity to speak publicly or to be put on the spot with questions you're not prepared for, and that sort of thing. I've heard from you all that the project was really important. Of course, calls on Washington are always just super awesome. What do you think was the most valuable for you all? Like, what's the thing that stands out to you as like the thing I learned to do better, or the thing you would repeat?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, I struggled in my career. I still do, is public speaking. That's something that it's not natural to me. So this has forced me out of my comfort zone to have to speak in front of others, and really try to understand myself when I'm speaking in front of others, and just that eye contact, repeating words, bad habits that we have of flipping our hair or whatever it may be, and take a step back and realize what you're doing and how you're speaking and how to really capture that audience. The media training for us, it didn't seem like it was the same in the past classes. I will tell you, I completely fumbled on the media training day. That was like an epic failure for me. We had questions that we had to answer, and I was really
for one question that she didn't get.
Oh no!
That Chris actually
so I was so prepared. Actually, Chris got the question, and I was like, "Are you joking me?" So then I was completely thrown off.
They didn't train you to ask the question or to answer the question you wanted to ask. Yeah, that's how we do it. Oh, that's your question? Actually.
Yeah. That's how politicians work, right? They answer the question they want to answer.
Could have stole Chris's question right out from under him.
I know, right?
You. It is a lot to think about, though, right? Like all of what's my presentation? What are my mannerisms? How am I speaking? Are there lots of ifs and ums and whatever else? And to try to think about all of that and your answers to your questions, yeah, boy, that's a challenge. That is definitely a challenge.
Yeah, I was going to piggyback on the answers to the questions. So they put you in situations where, you are the leader. You have to be very knowledgeable on the subject that you're actually presenting out on. So, I mean, I can speak to Dana and I. We've done so much research on driver health and well-being. We know so much more than we ever would have, and have a whole different appreciation for the workforce and the struggles that they go through, and a different desire to really help out where we can. So for the project, you have to become subject matter expertise, maybe in an area that you're not typically playing in when you're supporting the industry. And then also the call on Washington, you have to know policies and the impact and metrics, and like positioning who you are as leaders and who ATA is, and just kind of getting comfortable with the advocacy component of it. So you have to kind of stretch your brain a little bit to do different things than your normal day to day.
I think that's exactly right. I'm thinking, I won't name names here, but one of our teammates in the lead program, I would consider the most polished, kind of off the cuff speaker and presenter that I've seen. And yeah, and very comfortable in his or her own skin. Uh, and yet, before the call on Washington, was just incredibly nervous. And I just thought, gosh. And then he or she finished it and was completely kind of basically said I was worried for nothing. And that's one of the lessons that of the woman who gave us the talking points on how to speak publicly with confidence is that everybody's nervous, but you're on stage for a reason. It's because you know the stuff, and the people in the audience probably don't know as much as you. So just relax. No one's going to die by giving a speech. And I think that message resonated with all of us.
It's an interesting point, Chris. And I used to, my prior life, I did a lot of work on Capitol Hill, and we testified in Congress. And I used to tell members, to your point, you're going to know more than anybody in that room. So don't be nervous. So I think that's good advice for people.
I have a story to share about that, actually. So I used to work for AT, obviously, and I took some people up on the Hill. And I believe it was a lead class we took up on the Hill. And I won't say, it was during the time where FMCSA was investigating changes to the hours of service rules, to which Congress was very aware. And we had prepped everybody, and we're like, all right, supporter, not supporter, and this one leader was starting to get comfortable, starting to, closing it. Oh, appreciate your support for this. And then, so at the very sort of tail end of the meeting, this leader said, Senator, we just really appreciate your support on this thing. And it is a senator that everybody would know. And she was like, I just want to be totally clear here. I will not ever support this. And I was like, come on, we got to go. It's time to get out of here. So, we can make some mistakes, but they're not, it's not going to burn the house down.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, Steve.
That's
called that traumatic moment in my life.
Well, those anecdotes, clearly, we're not perfect and we're going to make mistakes, I think. And that's, to me, part of the value of a program like LEAD is you get to meet people that are knowledgeable and over the course of your career, you're going to get to know them and you're going to hear their experiences. That's going to enable you to perform when you need to perform, right? And so I think, and
right.
Have resources to call on when you need help. And I think, to me, that's one of the values here. And maybe if you guys could talk a little bit about, so why do you think that your company supported your application to be involved in the program? And if you're going to advise to other candidates that might be considering applying, any words of advice? Because clearly it's been of benefit to all of you. And so what would you offer to others that might be considering getting involved?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's a commitment. It is worth the time and energy that's invested into this program, but it is a commitment. I think you get so much out of this program, but you just have to invest the time.
So buckle up, she says. It's going to be a wild ride, but it'll be worth it in the long run. I like that.
Yeah, I would echo that. It is a time commitment, but you're surrounded by awesome people. You constantly feel inspired every meeting that you go, every interaction that you have, throughout the entire program. So you kind of have a whole different sense of purpose when you're part of a program like this. Because I think, to Dana's point earlier, she commented that, we have finance and technology and marketing and safety, and, we have motor carriers and allied partners. I think going through this program, you have a different appreciation for the industry. So you're always so siloed in, like, what is my part within the industry? But it becomes obvious that you're a bigger piece in a way bigger puzzle, and your actions matter to the entire same goal that we all have, which is shaping the future of the industry.
It's worth it. My advice would be apply. I would do it over, having been through it in a heartbeat. Completely worth it. Have no regrets, and and you'll just learn a lot. And if your goal is professional advancement, making yourself a little bit better each day, this program will help you get there in this industry.
Well, and I'll say, having observed it for a while, I'm consistently seeing new chairpersons on committees and subcommittees that were leaders in the past, and it's no throwaway point to say that those of you coming out of the leader program will be the chairpersons in the future. And it's no secret that if you're able to chair and influence a committee at the American Trekking Associations, you're able to influence an awful lot about trekking, because they are sort of the big stick in the space, right? So I think that's just wonderful. We're kind of getting to the end of our time and want to leave some space for some final comments. I did look online before this started, and I noticed that the Lead ATA Facebook group, which is kind of interesting because I don't think young people use Facebook anymore. I think it's just old farts. But I have a Facebook account, and it has 574 followers and 448 likes. So the big question is, are you following the Lead ATA Facebook group? But the more important question is, how are you staying in touch with your graduates, right? Like, are you waiting till the next meeting, or are you reaching out on a regular basis? I mean, we've talked about that camaraderie. What does that look like for y'all? I mean, it's 3 totally different sort of groups or segments in the industry, right? So you might not think that Dana needs a lot of marketing help, or Manny needs a lot of safety and compliance help. So, how do you do that? How do we continue to build those relationships? Oh, and have you liked the Facebook page? Don't forget that.
I'm not sure about the Facebook page. No, I'm curious.
I might have a TikTok too. I don't know.
It might go up by 3 after we finish this.
Yeah.
I'll be watching. Good.
I would say currently how we stay in touch right now is we have a group text that we go back and forth with. I mean, in between our meetings of where we meet up again as well. And naturally, people, I think, have developed their own cliques amongst each other of who they have the most, commonalities with. But I mean, that's how we stay in touch now, is through this group text.
I would agree with that. And to your point about Facebook usage, I think we're very active on Facebook. I know we all follow each other on Facebook. We're all Facebook friends now. Even to the point where I got dressed up this weekend and did a gala moment for a fundraiser. And Dana texted me, I was like, why are you so dressed up? So we're always following, we're always supporting each other. So it's just funny. So we're up to date on everyone's life changes outside of, industry updates and things like that you might see on LinkedIn. So I think that's what connects us even further.
Mm-hmm. Agreed on everything Dana and Manny said. I think going forward, it's going to be important for us to stay in contact, but also attend the conferences. I think that's a big selling point, is continue to show up, continue to participate on committees, and that way it's not just text messages, but that in-person contact is you can't replace it. So
2 words for you. We created after the first one, Supper Club. So then every MC&E, the sort of the first class, shout out to Robert and to Tim and to Brett and to all those folks. We try to pick one night and go out to supper, and then we just split the cost 8 ways or whatever it was. So that's always a fun idea. So anyway, sorry to interrupt there, but
and maybe before some closing remarks, one I guess last question, unless Sean, if you've got any more, but you guys just went through this great program. Hear a lot of experts, have your own experience to the table. So if you were to think of one challenge that the industry needs to deal with right now, it's a big one. What would you say that might be?
And don't say Steve Kepler. He's an asset, not a challenge.
I'm a lost cause. I'm unfixable.
This may seem a little in vogue, but AI is disruptive, and I think how much it will be disruptive and to what extent, who knows, but that's going to have to be something that the industry embraces and uses to improve how we operate. So that's my pick.
Yeah. One thing that's near and dear to my heart would be lawsuit abuse. I think that is something that we really need to get some focus around that. Staged accidents, unfair litigation, this picture of these horrible motor carriers and the drivers are just absolutely reckless. It's not true. And so I think we need to get some momentum behind.
Amen. Manny?
Yep. And I would echo both of those. Obviously, at TrueNorth, we help motor carriers with risk management and things like that, and solutions beyond the policy. So I would definitely echo all of those. I do think that the project gave me a whole new perspective on the driver health and wellness, and kind of finding unique ways to really support our workforce that are really driving America forward would be a big one too.
Awesome. I agree that all of those are big and important issues. So let's figure out how to use AI to fix lawsuit abuse and driver health and wellness, and we'll be square. Also, maybe this podcast will help solve some of those problems too. So anyway, well, I really appreciate you guys' time. It's been awesome to get to know you as you've attended these meetings and, of course, on this podcast as well. So certain about the bright future of the industry with folks like you committed to it. So with that, I'll back off because I've, as usual, already said too much, and leave some space for some final remarks and, of course, for Steve Kepler to take us home.
Any final thoughts from you all?
Just that it's been a great program. The lead ATA programs, I would highly recommend it. Like I said before, you won't regret participating in it. And I've really enjoyed getting to know Manny and Dana through that process and all of our classmates. So thanks to you, Steve and Sean, for having us today. It's been a really fun time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having us. And
Sorry, Dana, go ahead.
Fine. I just say lead ATA is worth the investment. So I would highly recommend anyone that wants to continue within the industry and be a driving leader within this industry. This is a good place to start.
Yep. And I completely agree. And, I think Steve, you made a comment earlier about, all the leaders are a part of councils and things like that within ATA. And I think for me going through this program, and I'm sure Dana and Chris would attest to this as well, is I've never felt more prepared to take on that next challenge. So it's a really exciting opportunity, I think, for all of us.
That's cool.
Well, I think I'll just close with, and thank you all for your time. To me, that our industry has so much passion and we channel it into our everyday jobs. But I think programs like Lead ATA tells us that we need to take a larger role, not just in helping ourselves, but helping our peers and our friends, because it takes a village to make this industry work. And we need to be active. We need to be involved. We need to share our views. We need to help each other because we're all in it together. And so we appreciate you all taking that leap and making the effort. And we know you're going to continue to be successful in your career. And thanks again for your time. Thanks for listening to this episode of True North Truck Thought. If you enjoyed the topic today and want to tune in for future conversations here on the Triple T Pod, make sure to follow us. Also, please don't hesitate to let us know which topics you want us to cover in future episodes. Drop us a line in the comments section or send us an email to transportationnews@truenorthcompanies.com. Thanks and have a safe day.